And welcome back. It all started in 2017 when the government, citing shortage, opened the floodgates for duty-free maize imports. 10.5 million bags were imported, the country losing 16 billion shillings in potential taxes then. Farmers were then allowed to sell the product to the National Cereals and Produce Board, NCPB, at 3,200 shillings per 90 kilogram bag. But the traders or so-called cartels took advantage and sold to NCPB in bulk, some being paid over 300 million shillings for delivering maize, and farmers were sidelined. Since then, many are yet to be paid, and some are left with bags of maize in their backyards. 6 senior officials of NCPB were interdicted, and EACC, that is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, is narrowing down on 62 questionable suppliers. And the scandal is now taking a life of its own.
Wale wanahusika na naibu wa rais, na hii sisi hatufichi. Tunataka mtu achunguzwe, ofisi yake ichunguzwe, wahusika, wafanyabiashara ambao mara nyingi wanakuwa na naibu wa rais wachunguzwe.
Mambo ya mahindi, tusiingize siasa duni ya mashindano. Hii ni maisha ya wananchi na lazima tuwaambie ukweli.
And text us on 22422. On Twitter, use the hashtag Newsnight as we continue to sample your views. Thank you, gentlemen, for making time for us tonight.
Thank you.
Joshua Kutunyi, MP, Cherangani. Kipchumba Murkomen is the Senator Elgeyo Marakwet County, also the Senate Majority Leader. I would have loved, okay, let's start with a tweet here. Because Kutunyi has not been saying this on his own. There's been Alfred Keter and Honorable Tiren. And this is just how, what I would call, I don't know if I can use the word crazy, it gets. I can barely read those tweets, and they're a bit fast, but he was starting to talk about cartels and cartels fighting back. That is on Alfred Keter, Honorable Alfred Keter's Twitter handle, talking about cartels supporting farmers, using lions and buffaloes, and how farmers trying to fight cartels on their own, that is buffaloes trying to chase the lions and all that. Anyway, and they say the people who are now trying to support the farmers or coming to the farmers' rescue is him, Honorable Keter, Honorable Kutunyi here, and Honorable Tiren. I don't know what you feel about that, Honorable Murkomen.
Well, I think, first of all, I don't think such a very important matter touching on farmers of this republic, and particularly the suffering maize sector, can be reduced to 3 members of parliament, or is primetime news worth discussing the 3 members of parliament. I don't think they are of any significance for us to focus on them. I think this very important airtime should be used to discuss the maize sector. What is ailing the maize sector? What is ailing the farmers and the agriculture sector? In my opinion, we have had an agriculture sector that has stagnated for almost 50 years. As a country trying to do, focusing on same farming methods and focusing on the same maize or crops that we are dealing with, and focusing on the same strategies that have never worked for the country for as many as 50 years. Now,
50 years including today, Honorable Murkomen?
I'm saying yes.
Up to and until today?
Yes.
Yet you promised us Jubilee
that's
to help farmers.
Absolutely. That's what I'm telling you.
So meaning the last 5 years or 7 you've done nothing. Is that what you're saying then?
Not yet. I've not come to that place. Okay. Now, if you have an agriculture sector that has been ailing for such a long period of time, until about 2007, 2008, there was a 2008, 2009, when there was a major intervention when William Ruto was the Minister of Agriculture. For the first time, there was subsidy on fertilizer. For the first time, there was a movement of maize sector, which had been killed by the KANU regime. From the maize prices from what was about 400 shillings to about 2,400 shillings under the William Ruto's leadership in the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, that is the time that the discussion around subsidy and purchase of maize at a very reasonable prices went up in this country. Fertilizer, which used to be sold before that 2008, 2009, at 6,000, came down to 1,800, and now Jubilee government has moved it to 1,500.
Okay.
But for me, those are not the interventions that this country needs. what this nation needs, and the difference between some of us who do work in parliament and those who specialize in politicizing the agriculture sector is this. We were elected to parliament to deal with solve problems of citizens through legislation, through representation, and through oversight. And in the Senate, and I want to speak for Senate and as a leader of the Senate, we sat down and asked ourselves, can we continue like this? In 2013, I was the chair of devolution committee, which worked on the transfer of function of agriculture to the counties. Right. And we expedited that transfer. Just give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Yes, expedited that transfer. Okay. When that ended and the transfers going to the counties, the next conversation was to ask ourselves in the agriculture sector, and Jubilee government especially, can we continue leaving our farmers, including those that have less than 5 acres of land, to depend on agriculture that is rain-based and that is waiting for all year like maize? Now diversification came in. The first thing is that Jubilee government started working on procuring milk coolers to encourage dairy farming, especially for small-scale farmers in most parts of the highlands, including North Rift. And that conversation of diversification has now been captured by our counties, who are major stakeholders in the agriculture sector. Okay. So that this sector, Hussein, by this year, in the Senate, we agreed to form a special committee chaired by Senator Kamar and Senator Wetangula to look at a raft of issues that needs to be done in the maize sector. Okay. And I can tell you for now, they are working on the final report, and we have received immense recommendations. As a Senate, we are going to propose major legislative amendments and interventions, including diversification in the agriculture sector, that will salvage our farmers from the morass that has been there for so many years. But
I'll let Honorable Kutunyi speak. But before that, I mean, you're talking about now, farmers have been going through this problem since 2017. Yeah. You tweeted about it. Yeah. And I'll come to your tweet shortly. You're saying you're looking into this now. You are re-elected personally, yes, and through the Jubilee Party, absolutely, and now forming the government, absolutely, through promises to help farmers. Initially in 2013, you actually talked of Galana Kulalu and 1 million bags.
Absolutely. In fact,
all these things have not happened. So now that you're talking about helping them now, can you admit that you have failed farmers in this country?
Not really, because let me. In fact, you've raised a very important issue. When we had this discussion about diversification in agriculture, was actually when the irrigation of Kulalu happened. If we were successful to irrigate 1 million acres with maize, it was going to reduce the price of maize across the country to about 1,000 per bag. And that was going to put in a very difficult time for farmers in North Rift, who are used to prices of over 2,300 and 400. You must remember something we're saying. There is a dichotomy, there is a disconnect, there's a competition between the producers of maize and the consumers. Okay. The consumers would like prices that have come down. The producers would like the prices to remain high. The consumers are more than the producers. Now, the only solution to that situation is to move the producers of maize from less profitable sector of just maize farming to a diversified agricultural sector. All right.
You're raising important issues, yes, and long term this is very important, of course, for every, not only maize farmers, but for any farmer in Kenya. Yeah. But in the currently, the pertaining situation is that farmers are suffering, farmers have not been paid, people have taken advantage of farmers. Let me bring in Honorable Kutunyi, and you've actually, as you respond, you've actually now said, you placed it at the Deputy President's office. And you want Deputy President's office to be investigated for himself.
Thank you, Hussein. First of all, the challenges that we are raising as members of Parliament and challenges of the people we represent. We are looking at farmers who might not be taking their kids to school next year. We are looking at the farmers whom their crop is rotting in the farm after working so hard the whole year. We are talking about farmers whom they don't know how they will go back to the farm next year. And you see, what is the biggest challenge here? The biggest challenge here is about the lack of support from the government. And as you put it earlier, we are talking about empowering farmers. How do you empower farmers if you don't provide market for the same farmers? The government provided subsidized fertilizer as just Murkomen said. But why are you providing the subsidized fertilizer? So then farmers produce more and then they can sell it in the market. Now, the concern of the members of parliament who are talking about these farmers is that the same government we have today, and I remember in 2013, I was the MC in a rally in Wazingishu where we promised farmers two things, particularly the maize farmers. One, we promised them that you will know the price of the crop before you plant. Up to today, it has never been enacted. And then two, we promised farmers that since the government that was there then was an opposition government.
You promised us Jubilee.
Of course.
He was there?
Of course he was there.
You agree,
and then
right?
we promised also farmers that since the government that is giving us 3,200 per bag is a government that we never voted, because the Kibaki was the government, was the president at that time. We said, we promise you 4,000 shillings. So today, when we are being told that the price of a bag of maize is 2,300, it is ridiculous. When the same farmer is spending over 2,000 to produce that one bag of maize. So the concern here is, when you talk about giving farmers support to produce more, and one of the pillars of our government is food sustainability and production, what are we doing as government? Why do we want to leave this crop to rot in the farm? And further to that, importation of maize. The challenge that we have today is importation of maize. The government allowed maize to be imported in June, July, August, when they knew very well by September there will be the first crop from South Rift. By December, there will be the next crop from North Rift. Had the government not imported maize, our maize today will have fetched very good prices. So we are talking, that is why.
They opened the window again.
Yes. So now that is why we are talking about, yes.
I don't remember you protesting then.
Yeah, it did not.
I don't remember you protesting
then. And I want to put it very clear. And I want to put it very clear that then I was president political advisor.
Yes.
I don't want to talk of what we did, but I have a memo which I protested.
Saying that should not happen.
That should not happen. And I went to the Ministry of Agriculture and said it very clear that we are going to harvest.
Okay.
Why do you want to at that time, and I remember even talking to members of parliament, and I told them that there is risk here. Because government was going to import maize from Mexico at 3,600. Today they are giving farmers 2,300. And then even wheat. Why is it that today the price of wheat also is not very stable? There was also importation of wheat from Tanzania. The government opened the window, and we protested at that time.
How grave was this matter to you then?
It was a serious matter as it is today. So, and that is why when I
being a presidential advisor stopped you from talking about it publicly? Is that what
of course, you know, what I did at that time was to generate a memo.
That is
and we
all
are
you could
following
do.
Up exactly because that was as a member of parliament. I talk on behalf of the people that I represent.
Okay.
So it is not an issue that we are picking up today.
Well, that happened. And Murkomen, as you respond, the report by the ad hoc committee, Senate ad hoc committee on maize, actually agrees with what he's saying. Because it was tabled today by Honorable Kumar, and it says there was no justification for duty-free importation of maize. It agrees with what Kutunyi is saying, although Kutunyi did not talk then.
Well,
you respond?
First of all, let's be very, very clear. Government buying maize does not guarantee the prices for maize for farmers. And I want you to know this, Hussein, because there's a lot of people peddling lies about maize. Maize production in the country is about, the needs for the maize sector in the country is 39 million bucks. We produce about 37 million bucks, about this year, thereabout. The government only needs 4 million bucks in their strategic grain reserve. Meaning that there is another about 33 million bucks of maize that are consumed across the country that are sold directly by the farmers to consumers, or to millers to mill, and then they are consumed. In fact, some other big farmers in the country don't deliver their maize to the strategic reserve. Number two is that if you are going to have these 37 million bucks of maize, depending on fighting for the market for 4 million bucks of maize across the country, we cannot succeed. That's why this report of the Senate has come to be. Why? Because we are saying now, farmer, before you determine that you're going to to deal with maize, do a contract with the person who's going to receive your maize. If you are going to be among the 4 million bucks that are going to go to strategic grain reserve, get that contract beforehand. If you are going to give it to a miller, get that contract beforehand. Number two, I think it's not right to continue peddling lies. In 2013, when we came to office, maize was trading at 2,800. This government moved it up to where we had last year, 3,200. Remember that the intention of government is that food becomes cheaper for citizens, and therefore the price of maize should be lower, which means we should be pushing the price of production to go low. How do you ensure? And I think this is the factors of demand and supply. If you continue having higher supply because you've given out so much subsidy on fertilizer, you will definitely have high production. We are telling our farmers, and I am not ashamed, you must have seen my tweet. We're telling our farmers, we cannot continue investing in maize because it's not going to give us the return we want. Let's go to high yield crops that we can plant 2-3 times a year. And you know, I've seen the debate out there, people saying, oh, you know, we must eat ugali, we must do this. Eating ugali and farming ugali are two different things.
Okay.
We are saying, let me just emphasize, we are saying, those of us who are on this side of solutions, we are saying we want to move our farmers, we must move our farmers from one, those who want to continue doing maize, they can do so. And by the way, those who will insist, because I was seeing Honorable Gutunya and others saying, we must sell our maize 5,000. Nobody stops you from selling your maize 5,000. Just ensure that you store them well, you have the market for it. But if you want to move to high yield, let me give you an example. Central Province. Central Province, for example, there are very few people who farm maize.
Okay.
But whatever they farm in that region, they make so much money that they can buy maize without feeling a thing across the year. Okay. That is what we are telling our farmers in North Rift. We are telling them, let's move from lamentations to the solutions.
One of the reasons could be they don't have the capacity to farm other.
They have. Let me give you an example of Elgeyo Marakwet. Let me give you my county.
Look at that. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
First, it's talked about you were there specifically when you promised farmers that they will be selling at 3,200 shillings. Yeah. Okay, is that a fact?
First of all, you even reminded me something. We were selling maize at
3,200 shillings. That's what you said.
3,000. Yes. No, yes. We said over 3,000, and we ended up to 3,200.
Yeah. So
now, number two.
What changed?
So we sold maize last year 3,200. It's only this year. It's only this year.
Honorable Kutunya is saying. Yeah. I mean, now the price is 2,300.
2,400. Is it
2,300? 2,300.
This is this year, and that is why we are saying.
Still, you did not promise that. That
absolutely.
Is not what you promised, yeah.
No, that's what I'm telling you. I have told you, saying, and I think citizens need to know this. Those are only 4 million bucks that are going to be taken for strategic reserve. What will happen to the 33 million bucks of maize?
Okay. My question again is, that is not what you promised. Regardless of the issues that has made the price to be 2,030, that is not what you promised to the farmers, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is not what you promised, okay. Again, when you talk about this 3,200...
And by the way, there is no way Gutuny will distance himself from that promise.
Of course.
He was cheering and clapping. Number two, because I want to hear his conversation. He's telling us here that he was used to write memorandum to the president. But he's been making noise all around that it's the deputy president who is reducing price of maize.
You know, Hussein, first thing that I want to, when Murkomen talk about diversification, first of all, I want even to understand where it comes from. Elgeyo Marakwet County. In a place called Tot. Today, as we are talking, mangoes are rotting. Along Kapcherop, the entire place, there is high yield of potatoes. There is no single storage, cooling storage.
Good
for
question.
The same potato.
I'll come to that, yes.
Today, in his county, along Chepkario, vegetables are rotting. So before you talk about farmers diversification, as in maize farmers doing diversification, first of all, they should be telling us what they have done.
Okay, let me come to
in that region.
Fantastic. Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that? Just start for
Just give me time.
Okay.
Today, 6 years down the line after being in government, there is no single factory to value add on those things.
That's a lie.
Farmers are complaining.
Yes.
So, when you talk about the issue of price, the reason why I am raising these concerns today is because the government has not done it. And then the big question comes. The person who was at the forefront talking about all this? Of course, was the deputy president. The region that is suffering the most is the region that is coming from.
The region that you also come from.
Exactly.
And
so
you are
now,
an MP of the Jubilee Party.
Exactly.
So you also own this promise of 2,000.
Absolutely. And that is why I'm asking, what happened?
So why would you
I want to ask a question.
Yes.
That is it a mistake to champion for better prices for the farmers?
No.
That is one.
Of course
and
not.
then two, is it also a problem or a mistake to point out that the cartels who are paid, some of them perhaps never supplied maize to cereals board, and why are they being investigated?
And,
Could it be a source where the money for genuine farmers disappeared to? Those are the issues that we are raising.
Right. So why
Is
the
there-
deputy?
can I respond?
You respond. Why the deputy president?
The concerns are very clear, and I have done it severally, even in many other. I've gone to several interviews on this matter, and I've tabled documents, and we've said that people need to come out clearly, and we've said deputy president needs to come out on this matter, because one of the companies that was mentioned is associated with him. And
Which
it is
company?
not only associated with him.
Which company?
It is being investigated. It is called Koilel Farm Limited.
Okay.
And the documents are here from EACC.
What exactly?
Many people supplied maize to cereals board.
Right.
Why is it that only these 68 companies are being investigated? It means that there is a malpractice. Cereals board and EACC, they raised the concern that there are some companies that were paid, perhaps maybe not supplying maize,
Okay.
or there are dubious ways
You've said
that they were paid.
You have
Yes,
said specifically
yes.
deputy president to be investigated.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what has he done?
So far, so good. Well, the documents that are here, it shows one of his company associated with him it is being investigated. So then he needs to come out. Why is he being investigated? Many people supply maize.
Okay. What about the other companies?
The other companies, there are 60-something companies.
Why that one?
Because he's associated with him.
Yeah, the other companies.
And the
also
rest,
associated
we are
with people.
also, it is. Then there is another issue.
Right.
Is it conflict of interest? Is it interference? How does it find, how is it that his company is being investigated?
Those are the issues you're raising. Is that
Exactly.
the only problem you have with the deputy president?
We have a lot of other issues, including farmers are complaining.
Okay.
And you know, this is the government that people voted for the government.
Okay.
We voted for this government. And in fact, Hussein, if this government had come to Rift Valley and tell people that we are not going to buy your maize, trust me, people will have thought twice. The reason why people support a government, it is because they come up with good policies. And people see that those policies, they are going to help those farmers.
Okay, for the record,
Yes.
for the record, Deputy Secretary of Communications of the Deputy President's Office, that is Emmanuel Talam, has talked about this and says, this farm you're talking about, Koilel farm, he's saying the input is known, the maize was produced in the farm and supplied to the NCPB.
I agree.
And so what is the problem?
I agree. But why is it that it is being investigated?
Hussein, can I say something? First of all,
Why is it that it is part of the cartel?
First of all,
Yes.
Honorable Kutuny, that's where he loses track. He loses track because Honorable Kutuny is peddling a lot of falsehood. And by the way, haven't you realized that he stammers and gets confused when it gets that point? You know why? Because he knows very well that for him, conveniently, the government suddenly becomes William Ruto. Suddenly becomes William Ruto when you talk about the maize. But when the government is doing all those other good things, the government is for other people other than William Ruto. That's number one. Number two, he should not pretend to speak for Elgeyo Marakwet. First of all, our county has been working with some investors to put in place cooling plans for potatoes. But that put even aside, including package of potatoes, the market for potatoes. Today we have just completed KVDA-funded factory in Tot, which is going to be commissioned soon, that is going to deal with the mangoes. We are telling our farmers, because I'm a farmer even in his constituency, and I want to ask Honorable Kutuny, did you supply maize to NCBB?
Yes.
And how much did you make?
Maybe 1, 2, 3
Not
million.
maybe. How much did you make? Because I'll disclose mine.
3
How
million.
much? 3 million.
Yes.
You're talking about this recent...
Yes, he made 3 million. Hussein, I want to disclose also here that I delivered my maize and I made equally 3 million. Do you know, Honorable Kutuny, that me and you,
Yes.
to my neighbor in Chepsiro or in Kamendi, who only was paid 200,000, do you know he believes me and you are cartels? The same way you are pointing at the deputy president that he was paid by NCBB 20 million, is the same way another person is saying me and you were paid 3 million. But yet, I know your farm in Gipkeke. You know my farm in near Kapcherop. We all delivered, me and you, either you delivered Kitale or Moist Bridge. We were paid rightfully for farms we did. William Ruto, in this report, because I'm seeing all this report, William Ruto purported farm is number 58. And as you asked that question rightly, there are a number of so many people, including New Progressive FCS in Eldoret, which was paid 149 million. One of the companies which Honorable Tiren delivered this maize through. Now I'm just giving you, for example, you have another company here called, somebody called Shem, 66 million. You have Zakaria here, 51 million. William Ruto, who owns maybe about 1,000 acres in Koilel, having only farmed for maize 400 acres, is paid here 20 million. Kutuny, probably, like myself, farmed less than 100 acres, were paid 3 million. So where is the crime in this thing? And where is this focus so much about William Ruto delivering maize to NCBB?
I want to explain to Murkomen.
That is not for Kutuny.
I want to explain to Murkomen.
That is why when we say the reason why, let me just complete. The reason why the conversation about supply of the discussion about maize farming, and particularly my colleagues, the 3 colleagues that are talking loudly about this issue, are lost track. That's why I told you initially, if we focus on this report of the Senate, if you ask me as the majority leader of the Republic of Kenya, what has been your work on the farming sector? I'll tell you, I work together with the special committee. Just wait.
Okay. Yes.
I work together. Let me complete. I worked together with the Senate committee to come up with these reports. I worked in 2013 to ensure that transfer of functions of agriculture are done in good time. I will tell you that in Senate, I have over and over again worked towards this issue. My friends here, except like today, the Speaker of National Assembly was saying, Honorable Kutuny, every time this discussion they have is not seen.
Okay.
When Parliament was budgeting for strategic green reserve, what was his contribution?
Okay, let him respond about 6 years down the line.
The reason why,
despite what you're doing now,
there is a lot.
Hussein,
there is a lot.
The reason why these companies are being investigated.
We have agreed ourselves on our sector that we need to change course.
Let me tell you, the problem, because I don't want to refer to Murkomen. Most of the people, you know, because they are cartel. So they don't understand the process of farming. There is no day that cereals board will pay you over 10 million, even if you are a serious farmer. Let me explain. One, shelling of maize is a tedious process. That if you have to shell 1,000 bags of maize, it has to take you 1 or 2 weeks. So it means when you supply maize to cereals board, because I know even people who supplied maize to cereals board, over 70 million. But why are they not being investigated? Because in a week you can shell 1,000, and then another 1,000, another 1,000. So in a month, maybe cereals board will pay you 2-3 million. So the reason why this company is being investigated is on how they're given one check off. So then the issue here is the fact that many people supplied maize to cereals board, and these companies are being investigated. In fact, one of the investigation is that most of these companies never supplied maize. That is one. And in 2, how did they supply maize at ones where they're being paid 20 million? Because every other farmer knows the process.
That is a lie.
From harvesting, from shelling.
Let's not perpetuate lies.
So, we are not here to defend anybody.
You know.
And I want to tell Murkomen that you must first of all admit that this is a letter from Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Why other people? Kibor and many other people. And I know quite a number of other farmers who are paid 70 million, but they are not being investigated. Because the procedure to supply...
Look at the contradiction. Look at the contradiction.
Murkomen,
No, let the contradiction. Joshua said, let me just at that point, let me interject there. Joshua just said,
nobody can be paid beyond 10 million.
It's not possible to pay anybody for 10 million. He has just told us Joshua Kibor was paid over 7 million.
But
I know farmers. Let me say
time.
this.
Give him time.
I know farmers, even your neighbor in Tuikoin, who have been paid more than 100 million.
Murkomen, don't be guilty before I complete. Don't defend what, perhaps maybe you know what I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
But please don't
I
defend.
know that what you are saying is lies.
Okay,
Murkomen, I have not said that Kibor supplied maize worth 70 million. No. I have only said that the companies which are being investigated here, the process of supplying maize, it is ridiculous. This is not the process. There is no way, and I want to say very clearly, go even and see the records. The money that was paid to ADC, one of the biggest producers, there is no way they can get a check of 10 million at once. Because the process of supplying maize to cereals board, it is a tedious process. So any company that is being investigated, and by the way, let me tell you, up to today, government even has not come up because people are blocking. They are not giving us audit of the maize that was applied. So then, that is one of the reasons that these companies, some of them perhaps never supplied maize.
That's
and
a
in
lie.
fact, I want to say...
You don't know that for sure.
I know for
and
sure,
I want to say,
Hussein, we have a report.
Hussein,
We have a report.
Hussein, I want also to insist...
Hussein, when EACC... Let me just respond there.
Just give him his time.
Murkomen, I want also to put it very clear that most of these companies are companies that are associated with some individuals. They were used by... This is what the conduit. That is why we are calling for these investigations to be concluded.
So his issue is that that company is being investigated.
Yes.
And the others are not. That you agree with?
No, that's not true. It's a lie. Let me just say this. Number one, all of us, once EACC came into the picture, all of us were told to go and validate all our payments, including myself. Yeah, and we had to go and produce documents from the chief, how many acres the chief approves, and all that kind of thing. And if you live in Eldoret or any other place, Honorable Kutuny is being dishonest. In Trans Nzoia, Hussein, I can tell you today, I know farmers by name, including those who are my neighbors, who have been paid over 100 million, and who have genuinely earned over 100 million every year because they own over 1,000 acres. How can Kutuny pretend, who is representing farmers,
I agree.
that he doesn't know them?
Murkomen.
If you go to Kwanza, because you gave your time, if you
Yes.
go to Kwanza constituency, most of the persons who own there over 1,000 acres are being paid over 100 million. And there's nothing wrong with it because they spend also nearly that 100 million in farming. And number two, I want to educate Kutuny. There's nobody who can be given a check of more than